Jaws dropped and eyes widened in shock as the Galactic Council stared at the hollow display of Earth's new faster-than-light fleet. The sleek human ships effortlessly outpaced the Arcturian patrol vessels, their quantum entanglement drives and wormhole generators making a mockery of the Council's outdated defenses. Head Counselor Xenos slammed a fist on the crystalline table, sending star charts flashing wildly. He bellowed for the human ambassador to be summoned at once. This upstart race of primates had somehow leapfrogged centuries of technological progress in a scant few decades. The implications were staggering and terrifying. Harry Bell strode into the council chamber moments later, augmented reality glasses feeding him real-time analysis of the seething alien expressions. The young diplomat took a deep breath, knowing the fate of humanity's fledgling stellar expansion hung in the balance. He had to convince these ancient beings that humans could be trusted with the stars. "Counselors, please," Bell said, raising a placating hand as Xenos jabbed a bony finger at the human fleet's hollow image and demanded an explanation. "I can assure you, we come in peace. Our people simply wish to take our rightful place in the galactic community." He met Xenos's glare unflinchingly. "We propose a summit to negotiate the future of human-Arcturian relations. With the right dialogue, there's no limit to what our species can achieve together." The council erupted into frenzied argument, some wanting to subjugate Earth immediately, others cautioning restraint in the face of humanity's sudden might. An aide burst in to report human ships taking up defensive positions around key Arcturian mining colonies. Xenos grudgingly agreed to the summit, but the gleam in his eye promised schemes and betrayal to come. As Bell left the chamber, heart pounding, he knew this was just the beginning of humanity's fight for a seat at the galactic table. Their wondrous new ships had won them a chance. Now human ingenuity and strength would be put to the ultimate test. As the council chamber erupted into heated debate, Harry Bell slipped out amidst the commotion, his heart racing with the newfound knowledge of a powerful alien artifact. The mysterious observer's cryptic warning echoed in his mind as he strode through the winding corridors of the Galactic Council headquarters. Bell knew he had to act fast before Xenos or his loyalists could get their hands on this game-changing technology. Xyloth Vark caught up to Bell just outside the building, his elongated face etched with concern. "I heard what happened in there," Vark said, falling into step beside the human diplomat. "Xenos won't give up easily. He'll stop at nothing to bury the evidence and paint your species as the aggressors." Bell nodded grimly. "Which is why we need to find that artifact before he does. It could be the key to exposing his corruption and ending this conflict before it escalates into all-out war." The two unlikely allies made their way to a secure location where Dr. Eliza Hoffman was being debriefed by human intelligence operatives. The brilliant scientist looked up as they entered, her eyes widening with recognition. "Ambassador Bell," she said, rising to shake his hand. "I can't thank you enough for rescuing me from that horrid place." "Dr. Hoffman, I'm afraid we have no time for pleasantries," Bell said urgently. "We need your help. What do you know about an ancient alien artifact that could tip the scales in this brewing conflict?" Hoffman's brow furrowed as she accessed her augmented memory implants. "There are references to such an object scattered throughout galactic lore," she said thoughtfully. "A device of immense power, capable of manipulating the very fabric of space-time, but its location has been lost for eons." Vark leaned forward, his amber eyes glinting. "I may have a lead on that," he said, producing a small crystalline data drive. "My sources have uncovered fragments of an ancient star map that could point the way to the artifact's hiding place, but we'll need to act quickly and quietly." Bell took the data drive, his teeth clenched. "Then let's get started. We'll need a small, fast ship and a crew we can trust." He turned to Hoffman. "Doctor, I know you've been through a lot, but we could use your expertise on this mission. Will you join us?" Hoffman's eyes sparkled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. A chance to uncover the secrets of an ancient alien civilization and prevent a galactic war? How could I refuse? As the trio began to plan their covert operation, Bell couldn't shake the feeling that they were embarking on a journey fraught with peril. Xenos and his minions would surely be hot on their trail, and there was no telling what other dangers lurked among the stars. But with the fate of humanity and the galaxy hanging in the balance, failure was not an option. They had to find the artifact and use its power to bring Xenos to justice, no matter the consequences. The sleek human stealth ship sliced through the void, its cutting-edge cloaking technology rendering it all but invisible to the prying eyes of the Galactic Council. Inside, Bell, Vark, and Hoffman pored over the fragments of the ancient star map, trying to decipher the cryptic clues that would lead them to the artifact's location. Vark traced a bony finger along a shimmering holographic projection of a long-dead alien solar system. "There," he said, pointing to a small, unassuming moon orbiting a gas giant. According to the map, the artifact is hidden somewhere beneath that moon's surface, in a vault left behind by the ancient progenitors. Bell squinted at the readout, his augmented reality glasses translating the alien glyphs into human script. "It won't be easy to get to," he said, frowning. "The moon's surface is riddled with dangerous gravitational anomalies and bizarre energy fields. We'll need to tread carefully." Dr. Hoffman looked up from her workstation, where she had been analyzing the artifact's possible capabilities based on the scraps of information they had gathered. "If the legends are true," she said, her voice tinged with awe, "this device could allow us to manipulate the very laws of physics. With that kind of power, we could not only expose Xenos' crimes, but also usher in a new era of peace and prosperity for the galaxy." Bell nodded, his eyes gleaming with persistence. "Then let's make sure we get to it first. Xenos and his goons won't be far behind us." As if on cue, the ship's proximity alarms began to blare. A holo display flickered to life, revealing a squadron of heavily armed Arcturian warships dropping out of FTL drive on an intercept course. At their head was the Obsidian Blade, Krell's notorious flagship, filled with illegal weapons. "They must have tracked us somehow," Vark growled, his fists clenching. "We can't let them capture the artifact." Bell gritted his teeth, his mind racing as he calculated their options. They were outgunned and outmatched, but they had one advantage: the element of surprise. If they could just reach the moon's surface and locate the vault before Krell and his forces caught up to them, they might still have a chance. "Strap in and brace yourselves," Bell barked to his companions as he slid into the pilot's seat. "We're going in hot. This is going to be a bumpy ride." With a deft flick of his wrist, Bell sent the stealth ship hurtling toward the mysterious moon, its engines screaming with exertion. The Arcturian warships gave chase, their weapons lighting up the void as they tried to lock onto the elusive human vessel. But Bell was a master pilot, weaving and dodging through the hail of enemy fire with preternatural skill. As they neared the moon's surface, he threw the ship into a dizzying corkscrew dive, narrowly avoiding a salvo of quantum torpedoes that tore through the space where they had been moments before. The stealth ship shuddered and groaned as it plunged into the moon's atmosphere, its shields straining against the gravitational anomalies that twisted and warped the fabric of space-time around them. Bell's knuckles turned white on the controls as he fought to keep the vessel steady, his brow beaded with sweat. Beside him, Vark and Hoffman clutched their restraints, their faces pale with fear and exhilaration. They knew that the destiny of the universe hung in the balance, and that failure was not an option. They had to find the artifact before Xenos and his forces could get their hands on it. As the ship screamed toward the moon's pockmarked surface, dodging geysers of exotic energy and jagged spires of alien rock, Bell couldn't shake the feeling that they were hurtling toward a destiny that would change the course of galactic history forever. The observer's cryptic warning echoed in his mind, a reminder of the immense power they sought and the terrible price they might pay for wielding it. But there was no turning back now. The die had been cast, and the future of humanity and the galaxy itself hung in the balance. All Bell could do was trust in his skills, his allies, and the strength of the human spirit as they raced toward the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Phantom emerged from the moon's turbulent atmosphere, its hull scorched and battered but intact. Bell exhaled sharply, his hands trembling as he released the controls. "That was too close," he muttered, glancing at his companions. Vark nodded, his amber eyes wide. "Indeed, but we've bought ourselves some time. What's our next move?" Before Bell could respond, Dr. Hoffman's voice rang out from her workstation. "Ambassador, I've made a breakthrough." She beckoned them over, her fingers flying across the hollow interface. "I've been analyzing the data from the ancient star map, cross-referencing it with our galactic archives. I think I know where the artifact is." Bell and Vark crowded around her display, their expressions a mix of anticipation and disbelief. "Where?" Bell asked, his heart racing. "A planet called Zephyria in the uncharted Omega Sector," Hoffman replied, pulling up a 3D star chart. "It's been abandoned for millennia, but the records suggest it once housed an incredibly advanced civilization." Bell's mind raced, pieces falling into place. The observer's message. It all fits. "We need to get there before Xenos does." "I know just the person to help us," Vark said, activating his comm unit. "Captain Jeremiah Hawkins. He's got the fastest ship in the quadrant and owes me a favor." Within hours, they rendezvoused with Hawkins's ship, the Phantom, a sleek, state-of-the-art stealth cruiser that made their previous vessel look like a museum piece. As they transferred aboard, Bell couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. The Phantom slipped into hyperspace, its quantum drive humming softly. In the command center, Hawkins briefed the team on their approach. "The Omega Sector's treacherous," he warned, his grizzled face illuminated by holographic star charts. "Uncharted asteroid fields, gravitational anomalies, the works. We'll need to—" A proximity alarm cut him off, blaring through the ship. "Arcturian warship!" the sensor officer shouted. "They were waiting for us!" Hawkins sprang into action, his hands dancing across the controls. "Hold on tight, folks. This is going to get rough." The Phantom dove into the asteroid field, plasma bolts from the Arcturian ship sizzling past. Hawkins weaved through the debris with preternatural skill, using the asteroids as cover. Bell gripped his seat, fingers tightening, as the ship corkscrewed around a massive spinning rock. "There!" Dr. Hoffman cried, pointing at the main view screen. "Zephyria!" The planet loomed before them, its surface a patchwork of crumbling ruins and overgrown vegetation. As they entered the atmosphere, the Arcturian ship still in pursuit, Hawkins set them down in a clearing near a massive pyramid-like structure. "We'll hold them off," Hawkins growled, unholstering his weapon. "You find that artifact." Bell nodded grimly, leading Hoffman and Vark into the alien ruins. The air was thick with the scent of decay and ozone, strange energy patterns flickering across the walls. They navigated through winding corridors and vast chambers, each filled with inscrutable technology. "These must be the defenses," Hoffman murmured, studying a series of intricate glyphs. Her fingers flew across her datapad, decoding the alien script. "It's a series of puzzles designed to test the worthiness of those seeking the artifact." They worked their way deeper into the complex, solving riddles and disarming ancient traps. Vark's quick reflexes saved them more than once, while Hoffman's brilliant mind unraveled the mysteries that barred their path. Finally, they reached a circular chamber at the heart of the structure. In its center, floating above a pedestal, was a small crystalline object pulsing with otherworldly energy. "The quantum nexus key," Bell breathed, reaching out to grasp it. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. A deafening roar filled the air, and cracks began to spread across the chamber's walls. "Nova bomb!" Vark shouted, his face contorted with fear. "Krell must have—" He never finished the sentence. The world exploded around them, the ancient ruins collapsing in a maelstrom of fire and debris. Bell felt a searing heat on his skin, saw Hoffman's lips moving in desperate concentration as her hands closed around the quantum nexus key. There was a blinding flash, a sensation of being turned inside out, and then they were back on the Phantom's bridge, gasping and disoriented. Through the view screen, they watched as Zephyria's surface erupted in a cataclysm of fire and destruction. "How?" Bell began, but Hoffman held up the quantum nexus key, its glow fading. "It worked," she said, her voice filled with awe. "It actually worked." As the Phantom sped away from the doomed planet, its crew battered but alive, Bell allowed himself a moment of hope. They had the key. They could expose Xenos, bring peace to the galaxy. But as they dropped out of hyperspace near the Galactic Council headquarters, that hope turned to ash. The station was on full lockdown, surrounded by a fleet of warships. Emergency broadcasts filled the comms, all carrying the same chilling message. By decree of head counselor Xenos, the Galactic Council is hereby dissolved. Martial law is now in effect. Bell's fists clenched as he stared at the view screen, the weight of their next move pressing down upon him. The real battle, it seemed, was just beginning. Bell's eyes narrowed as he scanned the chaos unfolding before them. The Galactic Council headquarters, once a beacon of interstellar cooperation, now bristled with warships and automated defense turrets. Xenos' face loomed on massive holoprojectors, his voice booming across the capital world. Citizens of the galaxy, hear me? The corrupt council is no more. I alone can protect you from the human menace and bring order to our stars. Vark's fists clenched at the controls. We're too late. He's already seized power. No, Bell said, his voice steady. We have the key. We can still stop this. The Phantoms slipped past the outer defense grid, cloaking technology masking their approach. They landed in a decrepit docking bay, far from the central spires where Xenos held court. As they disembarked, a familiar figure melted out of the shadows. Xyloth Vark. Ambassador, the alien diplomat wheezed, his eyes darting nervously. We must move quickly. Xenos has eyes everywhere. Vark led them through twisting corridors and ancient maintenance tunnels, the bones of the capital world creaking around them. They emerged in a hidden chamber where a handful of aliens huddled around flickering holo displays. The last Free Council members, Vark explained, were all that's left of the legitimate government. Dr. Hoffman stepped forward, her eyes bright with purpose. I may have a solution, she said, producing a small device from her pack. A neural encryption transmitter. If we can broadcast the evidence of Xenos' crimes, bypass his communication lockdown. We can turn the populace against him, Bell finished, a grim smile spreading across his face. The next hours were a blur of feverish activity. Hoffman and the alien techs worked to refine the transmitter, while Bell and Vark compiled the damning evidence against Xenos. Captain Hawkins and his crew set up a makeshift command center, coordinating with pockets of resistance across the planet. Just as they prepared to broadcast, alarms blared through the complex. Intruder alert! An alien voice screeched. Krell's death squads have breached the outer defenses. Bell's hand closed around the quantum nexus key. We need more time, he shouted to Hawkins. Hold them off! The captain nodded grimly, unslinging his particle rifle. With pleasure. As the sounds of battle echoed through the tunnels, Hoffman made the final adjustments to the transmitter. It's ready, she announced, her fingers flying across the interface. Broadcasting now! The effect was instantaneous. Across the capital world, and then spreading to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the truth of Xenos' crimes blazed across every communication channel. Riots erupted in the streets. Xenos' own troops turned against him, refusing to fire on civilians. But victory was short-lived. A massive explosion rocked the complex, and Krell himself strode through the smoke, flanked by his elite guard. Give me the key, he snarled, targeting Bell with a wicked-looking energy weapon. Bell dove for cover as Krell opened fire, the air sizzling with plasma bolts. Vark and Hoffman scattered, seeking shelter behind fallen debris. Bell's mind raced, searching for a way out. But they were trapped, cornered in their own sanctuary. A thunderous roar shook the chamber, and for a moment Bell thought Krell had brought in heavy artillery. But then the far wall simply vanished, revealing the inky blackness of space. An enormous battlecruiser hovered there, unlike anything Bell had ever seen. A figure materialized on the deck, tall, regal, unmistakably of Xenos' species, yet somehow different. Their voice boomed through the chamber. I am Zeros, and I bring salvation. With a gesture, Zeros activated the quantum nexus key. Reality itself seemed to bend and warp, a shimmering portal opening in the air. Come, Zeros commanded. Your fight is not yet finished. Bell hesitated for a split second, then made his choice. He grabbed Hoffman's hand and sprinted for the portal, Vark close behind. As they leapt through the rift, Bell caught a final glimpse of Krell's enraged face before the world dissolved into swirling energy. They materialized on the bridge of Zeros' vessel, gasping and disoriented. Through the view screen, Bell watched as the capital world receded, Xenos' forces in disarray. Zeros turned to them, eyes gleaming with an unsettling light. "Welcome, humans. You have done well to bring us the key. Now we shall use its power to reshape the very fabric of the universe." Bell's blood ran cold as he realized the true scope of what they had unleashed. The quantum nexus key pulsed in Zeros's grip, reality itself bending to its will. They had escaped Xenos only to face an even greater threat, one with the power to unmake entire worlds. As the ship accelerated into the depths of space, Bell knew their greatest challenge still lay ahead. He would have to find a way to stop Zeros without becoming the very thing they had fought against. The future of the cosmos now rested on a knife's edge, with Bell caught in the middle of cosmic forces beyond his comprehension. Bell's mind reeled as he processed Zeros's words. The alien's eyes gleamed with an unsettling intensity, the quantum nexus key pulsing in its grip. Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Incoming transmission," a mechanical voice announced. "Alliance fleet assembling." Zeros turned to the view screen, where a motley collection of ships materialized. Sleek cruisers, battered freighters, and even repurposed mining vessels coalesced into a makeshift armada. "Our time has come," Zeros intoned. "We strike at the heart of Xenos' empire." The ship's engines thrummed to life, accelerating towards a shimmering point in space. Reality twisted and folded, a massive wormhole yawning open before them. As they plunged through, Bell's stomach lurched, the laws of physics bending around them. They emerged above a glittering world, Arcturus Prime, Xenos' stronghold. But something was wrong. The planet's defenses remained dormant, its orbital platforms eerily silent. "It's a trap!" Hoffman shouted, her fingers flying across a console. "Xenos knew we were coming." As if on cue, a colossal vessel decloaked directly ahead, Xenos' dreadnought. Twice the size of Zeros' flagship, its hull bristled with weapon emplacements. Swarms of fighters poured from its hangars, descending on the rebel fleet like angry insects. The bridge erupted into chaos as Zeros barked orders. The quantum nexus key flared to life in its hands, reality warping around them. Entire sections of space folded and twisted, rebel ships blinking in and out of existence to evade enemy fire. "We need to end this now," Bell growled, turning to Zeros. "Get me on that dreadnought." Zeros nodded, manipulating the key. A shimmering portal opened on the bridge. Bell, Hoffman, and a handful of elite fighters stepped through, materializing in the bowels of Xenos' ship. They fought their way through twisting corridors, disabling security systems, and battling squads of Xenos' elite guard. Finally, they reached the bridge, where Xenos himself waited, a cruel smile playing across his alien features. "Ah, the human," Xenos purred. "I knew you'd come." Bell raised his weapon, but a familiar voice cut through the tension. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Xyloth Vark stepped from the shadows, his own blaster trained on Bell. Betrayal twisted in Bell's gut as the Arcturian diplomat moved to Xenos' side. "You were working for him all along," Bell spat. Vark's laugh was cold. "Oh no, my dear Harry. I work for myself." In a blur of motion, Vark fired. The energy bolt struck Zeros squarely in the chest. The alien crumpled, the quantum nexus key clattering to the floor. Vark scooped it up, his eyes glowing with triumph. "At last," he breathed, "true power." Bell dove for cover as Vark unleashed the key's energies. Reality itself seemed to scream, a cosmic rift tearing open in the fabric of spacetime. Through the view screen, Bell watched in horror as entire ships, rebel and imperial alike, were swallowed by the growing singularity. Hoffman's voice crackled over his comm unit. "Bell, get out of there! I've got a ship waiting!" Dodging debris and energy discharges, Bell fought his way to an airlock. A sleek human vessel hovered just outside, its hatch invitingly open. He leapt across the void, tumbling into the safety of the ship's interior. As they pulled away from the dreadnought, Bell saw another vessel on a collision course. The Phantom. Captain Hawkins's voice filled the comm channels. "It's been an honor, folks. See you on the other side." The Phantom slammed into Vark's command ship, sending the Arcturian stumbling. The quantum nexus key slipped from his grasp, tumbling end over end into the maw of the singularity. There was a blinding flash, a deafening roar, And then, silence. The rift collapsed in on itself, taking the Phantom and its brave crew with it. In its wake, the battered fleets drifted aimlessly, their leaders gone, their purpose uncertain. Bell stared out at the cosmic devastation, his mind struggling to process the magnitude of what had transpired. Humanity had survived, even triumphed. But at what cost? As Hoffman piloted them towards the remnants of the rebel fleet, Bell knew their greatest challenge still lay ahead. The Galactic Council was in shambles. Entire systems left leaderless in the wake of Xenos' fall. Someone would need to step into that void to help forge a new future for all sentient species. Bell's grip tightened on the console as he gazed out at the star-filled expanse. Whatever came next, he knew humanity would play a pivotal role in shaping the destiny of the cosmos. Bell's eyes scanned the wreckage-strewn expanse of space, his mind racing. The human cruiser's bridge hummed with nervous energy as the surviving rebel leaders gathered around a holo display. "We've won the battle," Admiral Chen said, her voice tight. "But the war?" Bell nodded grimly. "Xenos and Vark are gone, but they've left behind a powder keg. The Council's in shambles." Dr. Hoffman's fingers danced across a data pad. Reports coming in from across the sector. Warlords, crime syndicates, even corporate entities. They're all scrambling to fill the power vacuum. Bell's mind focused. He strode to the view screen, studying the flickering icons representing the remnants of Xenos' fleet. A plan crystallized in his mind. "We need leverage," he said, turning to face the assembled commanders. "Something to force the Council factions to the negotiating table." He outlined his audacious proposal. Silence fell over the bridge as the implications sank in. "Zytron Prime," Captain Reeves of the Arcturian contingent hissed, "you want to strike at the heart of Council shipbuilding?" Bell met the alien's gaze unflinchingly. "It's bold, unexpected. They won't see it coming." Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed. "And if we succeed?" "We control the means of production," Bell said. "We dictate the terms of peace." Murmurs of dissent rippled through the gathered leaders, but as the gravity of their situation set in, grudging nods of agreement followed. Hours later, Bell stood on the bridge of the makeshift flagship as their cobbled-together armada emerged from hyperspace. Zytron Prime's orbital shipyards loomed before them, a sprawling network of construction bays and defense platforms. "All ships commence attack pattern Omega," Bell ordered. "Strike teams, prepare for boarding." The space around them erupted in weapons fire. Bell watched as human fighters wove between lumbering Arcturian cruisers, their unorthodox tactics catching the defenders off guard. On the main view screen, a boarding shuttle streaked towards the shipyard's command hub. "Team Alpha has breached the perimeter," a tactical officer reported. "Beta and Gamma squads moving to secure fabrication centers." Bell allowed himself a tight smile. The element of surprise had worked wonders. Within hours, the last pockets of resistance crumbled. Zytron Prime, crown jewel of Council shipbuilding, was under human control. As the dust settled, Bell crafted his message. It was broadcast across every channel in every language. "To all factions of the former Galactic Council, humanity now controls Zytron Prime. We have no desire for conquest, but we will no longer be denied our rightful place among the stars. Come to the negotiating table, or watch as your fleets wither on the vine." The response was swift. Some hardliners raged against human audacity, but the moderates saw which way the stellar winds were blowing. Within days, envoys from a dozen species converged on Bell's flagship. The negotiations were tense, a powder keg of competing interests and millennia-old grievances. Bell navigated the treacherous waters of galactic politics, knowing that one misstep could reignite the conflict. As a gesture of good faith, he allowed the alien diplomats to tour humanity's crowning achievement. The sleek vessel sat in a secured docking bay, its lines echoing the legendary Prometheus-class explorer of centuries past. "Impossible," an Arcturian scientist breathed, studying the ship's schematics. "This level of technology, your ancestors—" Bell nodded. "We've recovered more of our history than you realize. Humanity is ready to take its place as equals in this galaxy." The revelation sent shockwaves through the negotiations. With the threat of superior human shipbuilding looming over them, even the most reluctant factions were forced to reconsider their stance. Bell's proposal for a restructured Galactic Council met with fierce debate. The concept of rotating leadership was alien to many species, but Bell held firm. Extragalactic exploration rights and AI research regulations proved equally contentious. Yet as the hours stretched into days, a fragile consensus began to emerge. Just as it seemed an agreement might be within reach, alarms blared throughout the ship. A junior officer burst onto the bridge, face pale. "Sir, long-range sensors detect a massive fleet approaching. It's the Kryax Dominion. They're not responding to hails." Bell's blood ran cold. The Kryax, a warrior species from beyond the galactic rim, had long been whispered of in fearful tones. Now, it seemed, they had chosen this moment of weakness to strike. He turned to the assembled diplomats, seeing the same realization dawn in their alien eyes. The negotiations, the future of the galaxy itself, now hung by a thread. Bell's eyes narrowed as he assessed the looming threat. The Kryax fleet hung in space like a swarm of metal insects, their ships jam-packed with weaponry. He turned to the assembled diplomats, his voice steady. "We have two choices: fight separately and be destroyed, or stand united against this invasion." A tense silence fell over the room. Then slowly, nods of agreement rippled through the alien contingent. Bell allowed himself a grim smile. Sometimes it took an external threat to forge unlikely alliances. In the days that followed, a fragile peace was ratified. The new galactic concord emerged from the ashes of conflict, a governing council with rotating leadership and equal representation for all stellar nations. Bell found himself appointed as Earth's first ambassador, a role he accepted with a mix of pride and trepidation. The inaugural Concord meeting convened aboard a massive space station orbiting a neutral world. Bell's footsteps echoed as he entered the vast chamber, taking in the assembled representatives. Arcturians with their iridescent scales, the towering Xyraxians, even a delegation of the enigmatic Quarrel, all gathered under one roof. As Bell took his seat, he caught snippets of hushed conversations. Distrust simmered beneath the surface, old grudges barely held back by the veneer of diplomacy. The human presence was a particular point of contention, with many species still wary of Earth's rapid rise to power. The proceedings had barely begun when alarms blared throughout the station. A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing a distant star system. "We're receiving reports of an attack on the human colony in the Rovari Nebula," announced the Arcturian speaker. "Unknown assailants, heavily armed." Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. Bell's mind raced. This attack could shatter the fragile peace before it had a chance to take root. He rose to his feet, his voice cutting through the growing chaos. "Esteemed colleagues, we have an opportunity here, not to point fingers or lay blame, but to demonstrate the united purpose of our new Concord." Bell outlined his proposal for a joint task force to investigate the nebula and hunt down the perpetrators. As he spoke, he saw the suspicion in alien eyes gradually give way to grudging respect. Captain Hawkins stood on the bridge of the Prometheus de Sion, surveying the motley fleet assembled before him. Human cruisers flew alongside Arcturian battleships and Xyraxian fighters, a sight that would have been unthinkable mere weeks ago. As they entered the swirling gases of the Rovari Nebula, visibility dropped to near zero. Hawkins barked orders, coordinating the fleet's movements through the treacherous ion clouds. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Massive object detected," shouted the sensor officer. Sir, I've never seen anything like it." The nebula parted, revealing a colossal derelict spacecraft. Its hull was scarred and pitted, bearing the marks of unimaginable age. Hawkins felt a chill run down his spine as he gave the order to board. Dr. Hoffman led the expedition team, her breath misting inside her helmet as they entered the derelict's cavernous interior. Alien script covered the walls, unlike any language in the Concord database. "This section," Hoffman said, gesturing to a row of empty chambers. "It looks like holding cells." The realization hit like a physical blow. This wasn't just a ship, it was a prison transport, and its cargo was missing. As the team relayed their findings, Bell felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Somewhere in the nebula lurked a group of escaped prisoners, potentially more dangerous than any threat the Concorde had yet faced. The joint fleet split into search parties, scouring uncharted planetoids for any sign of the fugitives. Hoffman's team found themselves on a barren moon, its surface pockmarked with impact craters. They had barely begun their survey when a psychic assault slammed into their minds. Hoffman watched in horror as her human crew members turned on their alien companions, eyes glazed and movements jerky. Only Bell, protected by an experimental neural inhibitor, remained unaffected. He ducked behind a rocky outcropping, mind racing. The attacker had to be nearby, but how could he hope to face such a powerful psychic alone? A shimmer in the air caught his attention. Two ethereal figures materialized beside him. Alien twins, their bodies constantly shifting and reforming. "We resist the mindbender," one of them hissed. "You are unaffected. Together, we may stand a chance." Bell hesitated for a fraction of a second, old prejudices warring with pragmatism. Then he nodded, extending his hand to the shapeshifters. "Let's end this." Bell's hand clasped that of the shape-shifting alien, a gesture that would have been unthinkable mere weeks ago. Together, they formulated a plan to neutralize the psychic threat. As the last echoes of conflict faded from the barren moon, Bell found himself thrust into a new role. Earth's first ambassador to the new Galactic Concord. The following months saw him navigating treacherous political waters, mediating disputes between member worlds while advocating for humanity's place among the stars. During a tense negotiation over AI research regulations, alarms blared through the Concorde's sprawling space station. A holographic display materialized, showing a distant star system pulsing red. "Distress signal from the Kryzar system," announced a Zyraxian technician, her towering frame hunched over a console. "Mining colony under attack." Bell's eyes narrowed. Composition of the response fleet. 2 human cruisers, an Arcturian battleship, and a squadron of Quarrel interceptors, replied Admiral Chen, her voice clipped. Hours later, Bell stood on the bridge of the lead cruiser as it dropped out of hyperspace. The Kryzar system's lone habitable planet hung before them, its surface scarred by strip mining operations. "Scans show no signs of the colonists," reported the sensor officer, "but there's residual energy signatures consistent with mass teleportation." Bell's mind focused. Search for any clues left behind. The landing party returned with grim faces and a data crystal. Its contents confirmed Bell's worst fears. Security footage showing the unmistakable insignia of Gracchus the Ravager. In the emergency session that followed, Captain Hawkins outlined his audacious plan. "We use the human colony on Tyrannus 4 as bait," he said, his voice steady. "Draw Gracchus out, then spring the trap." Murmurs of dissent rippled through the assembled diplomats. Bell studied the faces around him. Scales, tentacles, bioluminescent skin, united in their unease. "It's a risk," Bell admitted, "but Gracchus threatens everything we've built. We must act decisively." The plan was set in motion. Bell personally traveled to Tyrannus 4 to oversee preparations. As he disembarked from his shuttle, he was met by the colony's administrator, Tyrus Kane. "This is madness," Kane hissed, his weathered face creased with anger. "You're placing my people in harm's way." Bell met the man's gaze unflinchingly. "We have safeguards in place. The Concorde fleet will—" A tremor rocked the landing pad. Alarms blared. Bell's comm unit crackled to life with frantic reports. Gracchus's forces had arrived early, catching the defenders off guard. Through the chaos of the colony's streets, Bell glimpsed Kane slipping away, a triumphant gleam in his eyes. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity, treachery from within. Smoke billowed on the horizon as Bell raced to the command center. He found Captain Hawkins coordinating a desperate defense. "Gracchus brought a Promethean warship," Hawkins growled. "Some kind of doomsday weapon. We can't penetrate its shields." "Kane," Bell spat. "He must have given them the colony's defense codes." A thunderous boom shook the building. Outside, civilians fled in terror as Gracchus's troops advanced. Bell's mind raced, searching for a solution. "The Promethean ship," he said suddenly. If Kane gave them access, he must know how to shut it down. Hawkins nodded grimly. Find him. I'll hold the line here as long as I can. Bell sprinted through the chaos-choked streets, dodging energy blasts and falling debris. He caught sight of Kane boarding a shuttle at the colony's edge. Kane! Bell shouted, his voice raw. You can still make this right. The administrator hesitated, one foot on the shuttle's ramp. In that moment of indecision, Bell saw the weight of guilt etched on the man's face. The Promethean codes, Bell pressed. Give them to me and we can end this. Kane's shoulders sagged. He reached into his pocket, producing a small data crystal. I never wanted this, Kane whispered. I thought I could protect my people. Bell snatched the crystal, not waiting to hear the rest. As he raced back towards the command center, the sky above erupted in a dazzling firefight. Hawkins's reinforcements had arrived. With trembling hands, Bell inserted the crystal into the command console. Lines of alien code scrolled across the screen. He input the final command sequence, praying it wasn't too late. High above, the Promethean warship's shields flickered and died. Concord fighters swarmed the suddenly vulnerable vessel, their weapons finding purchase on its hull. Bell allowed himself a moment of hope. The battle was not nearly finished, but humanity had proven itself equal to the challenge. As Hawkins's voice crackled over the comms with new orders, Bell straightened his shoulders. Whatever came next, Earth would face it, standing tall alongside its new allies. Bell's shuttle docked at the Galactic Concord headquarters, his body aching from the ordeal on Tyrannus IV. As he strode through the gleaming corridors, his mind raced with the implications of Kane's betrayal. The council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as Bell presented the damning evidence. Holograms flickered to life, displaying security footage and decoded transmissions that left no doubt of Kane's collusion with Gracchus. This treachery cannot go unanswered, rumbled Vorkath, the Zyraxian representative. We must strike back immediately. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the rising clamor. Our intelligence places Gracchus in the Hecarim Nebula. He's holed up in some kind of ancient alien outpost. A three-dimensional map materialized, showcasing a sprawling complex nestled within swirling cosmic gases. Bell studied the forbidding structure, its energy shields pulsing in eerie synchronization with a nearby pulsar. Conventional assault would be suicide, General Thax declared, his scaled skin rippling with agitation. Those shields could withstand our entire fleet. Bell's eyes narrowed as he formulated a plan. Then we go in quiet, a small team, infiltrate the facility, disable the shields from within. Murmurs of dissent rippled through the chamber. Admiral Chen fixed Bell with the intense look. That's a high-risk operation, Ambassador. Are you volunteering to lead it? Bell met her eyes without hesitation. I am. Hours later, Bell found himself aboard a stealth shuttle, surrounded by an elite strike team. Humans stood shoulder to shoulder with towering Arcturians and lithe coral operatives. As they approached the nebula's swirling gases, Bell addressed the assembled warriors. We're up against unknown defenses and superior numbers. Our only advantages are surprise and purpose. Let's make them count. The shuttle slipped past patrolling fighters, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Gracchus's sensors. They touched down on a neglected landing pad, the team fanning out with practiced precision. Bell led the way into the labyrinthine corridors, his pulse rifle at the ready. The air hummed with an alien energy that set his teeth on edge. As they delved deeper, they encountered pockets of mercenaries, a hodgepodge of species united by greed and desperation. In a cavernous chamber, filled with bubbling vats and arcane machinery, Bell's blood ran cold. Mutated creatures writhed in containment fields, while screens displayed weapons schematics of terrifying potency. By the stars, breathed Kira, the coral tech specialist. He's weaponizing xenotech. If this gets loose in populated systems... A muffled cry drew their attention. In an adjacent cell, they found an emaciated alien scientist, her iridescent skin dulled by captivity. I am Kalara, she whispered, as Bell deactivated the force field. You must stop Gracchus. The horrors he plans... Bell helped her to her feet. We need to reach the control center. Can you guide us? Kalara's eyes widened in fear. Yes, but beware. Gracchus has a guardian, a cyborg of terrible power. It hunts intruders without mercy. As if summoned by her words, an inhuman roar echoed through the complex. The team took defensive positions as thunderous footsteps approached. Ambassador, Kalara hissed, I can reach the control center through the maintenance shafts, but someone must distract that thing. Bell's teeth gritted as he made his decision. Go, I'll keep it busy. He barely had time to nod to his team before a massive figure burst through the far wall. The cyborg towered over them, its battle armor jam-packed with weaponry. A flash of recognition hit Bell. Beneath the cold metal and pulsing circuitry, he glimpsed the face of a once-respected Concord commander. As his team retreated with Kalara, Bell raised his weapon. Remember who you were, he shouted. Gracchus did this to you. The cyborg's only response was a hail of plasma fire. Bell dove for cover, the acrid smell of melted metal filling his nostrils. He returned fire, his shots barely scratching the Juggernaut's armor. A desperate game of cat and mouse ensued. Bell used every scrap of cover, every trick in his arsenal to stay ahead of the relentless hunter. His comm unit crackled with updates from Kalara. She was close to the control center, but needed more time. Bell's luck finally ran out in a vast hangar bay. A glancing blow sent him sprawling, his weapon skittering across the floor. As the cyborg loomed over him, its arm cannon powering up for a killing shot, the facility lurched. Alarms blared as the energy shields flickered and died. Through the hangar's force field, Bell saw the pulsar's deadly radiation flooding the nebula. He allowed himself a grim smile. Whatever happened next, Gracchus's plans for galactic domination had just gone up in flames. Smoke. Bell's vision blurred as the cyborg's arm cannon whined, preparing to deliver the killing blow. Suddenly, the facility lurched violently. Alarms blared as the energy shields flickered and died. Through the hangar's force field, deadly radiation from the pulsar flooded the nebula. The cyborg's systems sparked and sputtered, its movements becoming erratic. Bell seized the opportunity, rolling away and retrieving his fallen weapon. Ambassador! Kalara's voice crackled through his comm. Shields are down, but I've been exposed. I don't... Her transmission cut off in a fit of coughing. Before Bell could respond, the air shimmered. An elite Concord strike force materialized, their weapons trained on the malfunctioning cyborg. In the chaos, Bell caught a glimpse of a familiar figure being dragged away in restraints. Gracchus, his plans for galactic domination, crumbling around him. Bell raced through the corridors, his lungs burning as he pushed himself to reach the control center. He found Kalara slumped against a console, her iridescent skin pale and mottled. You did it, Bell said, cradling her fragile form. We couldn't have stopped him without you. Kalara's eyes, once vibrant, now clouded with pain, met his. Promise me, she whispered, that my people will be protected. I swear it, Bell replied, his voice thick with emotion. As the light faded from Kalara's eyes, the facility shuddered again. Dr. Hoffman burst into the room, his face ashen. Ambassador, we need to evacuate immediately. Gracchus activated a self-destruct sequence. An antimatter implosion. It'll take out the entire system. Bell's mind raced. How long? Minutes if we're lucky. Gently laying Kalara's body down, Bell barked orders into his comm unit. All personnel, emergency evac protocol Omega. This is not a drill. They sprinted through the disintegrating outpost, dodging falling debris and electrical fires. The hangar bay was a scene of controlled chaos as ships prepared for immediate departure. Bell ushered the last of the survivors aboard before leaping onto the ramp of his own shuttle. As they rocketed away from the doomed facility, the view screens filled with a blinding light. The antimatter reaction tore a hole in the fabric of space itself, a localized singularity swallowing everything in its path. Bell watched in horror as the system's planets were pulled inexorably towards oblivion. A flashing alert drew his attention. On a secondary screen, a lone figure stood at the edge of the hangar bay. The cyborg, its battle-scarred armor gleaming, raised its arm in a final salute. Before Bell could react, it launched itself into the cosmic maelstrom, vanishing in an instant. The battered Concord fleet limped away from the expanding singularity, their sensors struggling to make sense of the destruction left in their wake. Bell slumped in his chair, the weight of all they'd lost pressing down on him. As the stars stretched into streaks of light, signaling their jump to hyperspace, Bell's gaze remained fixed on the interface. The singularity shrank to a pinprick, then vanished entirely. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Ambassador," Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the comm. "We're receiving transmissions from Concord HQ. They're demanding a full report on—" "Not now," Bell interrupted, his voice weary but firm. "First, we honor our dead." He stood facing the assembled survivors, human and alien alike. Their faces showed a mixture of exhaustion, grief, and uncertainty. Bell cleared his throat. "Today we've struck a blow against chaos and tyranny," he began. "But the price was steep. Kalara, whose bravery saved countless lives. The corrupted Concord commander, who found redemption in his final moments. And so many others." Bell paused, allowing the weight of their sacrifice to settle over the room. "Their deaths must not be in vain. We will carry their memory forward, using it to forge stronger bonds between our peoples. The galaxy remains full of threats, but together, we can face them." As murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, Bell turned back to the view screen. The stars blurred past, each one a reminder of the vastness they had pledged to protect. He squared his shoulders, knowing that the real work of building lasting peace was only just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.